Chapter 46, Han Fu. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Ow. Han Fu let out a beast-like groan. His genuine chi revolved in the 15 meridians, and a gush of strong power burst out from his body. Boom, boom. Holding his battle axe, he strode towards Zhang Yuochen. The Colosseum shook slightly with every step he made. Boom. He slanted out the axe towards Zhang Yuochen. The slanting seemed like coming from sheer animal strength. In fact, it was rather tricky, which blocked all of Zhang Yuochen's leeway, leaving him nowhere to hide. It was the realm of following the mind. The axe followed the mind. Zhang Yuochen stayed calm, taking it steadily and unoppressively. He lifted his arm and blocked transversely with his sword scabbard, colliding with the battle axe. Bang! A massive deafening sound burst out. The sword and the axe fixed up in midair at the same time. Holding the sword in one hand, Zhang Yuochen blocked the axe easily. Seeing this, all of the warriors' astonishment reached its height. No one ever imagined that Zhang Yuochen's power was so terrifying. Han Fu was born with amazing power. He can burst out the strength of 32 bulls without using martial techniques. Is the ninth prince even more powerful than him? Standing on the grandstand, Hong Tao shook his head slightly and said, "It turns out that the ninth prince hasn't gone all out. His cultivation is indeed fathomless. I don't know whether Han Fu can feel the real strength of his cultivation." It was indeed heart-shaking. At first, people believed that the reason why the ninth prince could defeat those warriors at the completion of the Yellow Realm was that he was in a high sword comprehension realm. No one could have expected that his power was so terrible. He could act as a counterweight with his power alone. Boy, your power is strong enough. Now, take this. Mix World Slay. Han Fu bounced over 60 meters high and gave free play to a martial technique in the mid-class of the human stage. He held the axe with both hands and struck it down again. The martial technique in the mid-class of human stage and the 600 kilogram weight of the battle axe could burst out the terrifying power of 45 bulls. Sacred Bell Sword. Crash. The flash-shining sword was finally freed from the scabbard. Zhang Yuochen shifted all of his genuine chi into the flash-shining sword and activated all the 4 inscriptions of power series in the sword. The flash-shining sword weighted 227 kilograms. The dancing sword breath turned into an illusory bell sword and covered Zhang Yuochen's body in the center. Bang! Chopping on the bell sword, Han Fu failed to cut it open. On the contrary, he was tossed out by a great counterforce. Han Fu felt a great quake at the 5 internal organs, and the spiritual blood tossed over his body. He had an internal injury. Zhang Yuochen could burst into the strength of 36 bulls without using any martial technique. With the dragon and elephant prajna palm, he could burst into the strength of 49 bulls. The sacred sword skill was not a martial technique to increase the power, but a technique that focused on the delicacy of the sword technique and the sharpness of the sword breath. The sacred sword skill, however, was a sword technique of the low class of spiritual. Zhang Yuochen still burst out the strength of 49 bulls by putting the defensive technique of the sacred bell sword. In addition, the counterforce of the sacred bell sword was also very powerful. Thus it was impossible for Han Fu to stay safe and sound. Again, Han Fu's eyes turned blood red. He activated his fire lion leopard blood and traces of fire came out of his pores. Han Fu is going wild. With the power of the fire lion leopard blood, he is able to burst into the terrifying strength of 49 bulls. Last time when Han Fu went wild, he tore a warrior apart at the completion of the Yellow Realm to shreds with his battle axe. The fact was, an ordinary warrior at the completion of the Yellow Realm could only burst out the strength of 25 bulls. Anyone who could burst out the strength of 36 bulls would be regarded as outstanding. Even some warriors of the Yellow Board could not burst into such terrifying strength as 49 bulls. Han Fu could have been a warrior of the Yellow Board as well. He, however, met a warrior of the Yellow Board with a higher ranking in round 10. Thus he failed to achieve 10 game-winning streaks. If he met a weaker warrior of the Yellow Board in round 10, he could have been a warrior of the Yellow Board now. In other words, Han Fu was no weaker than any other warriors of the Yellow Board. Well, Zhang Yuochen, you can even drive Han Fu wild. It seems that your power is quite strong. With ridicule, Liu Chengfeng looked at Zhang Yuochen, who kept falling back on the Colosseum. He would have been defeated by the wild Han Fu, not to mention Zhang Yuochen. When a man lost to Han Fu, it was not failure that awaited him, but death. Boom. Zhang Yuochen could clearly feel a wave of warmth blowing on his face before the axe was chopped down. He decided not to confront the tough with toughness. Instead, he chose to step back. Even if they faced each other directly, Zhang Yuochen was also as powerful as Han Fu. However, Han Fu was not the only person Zhang Yuochen needed to defeat. He had to prepare for round 10 with the warrior of the yellow board, so it would be unwise to waste too much genuine chi and physical strength. Han Fu kept chopping down the axe while Zhang Yuochen kept stepping back. Every chop and hide was so close that people could not imagine the consequence if Zhang Yuochen was one step slower. The 9th Commandery Princess was very worried. It was too dangerous. She really hoped that her dear 9th brother just gave in, for there was no chance of winning when the opponent was Han Fu. At the very beginning, Han Fu indeed suppressed Zhang Yuochen with his great momentum. Han Fu's power, however, gradually grew weaker. The speed of his axe waving started to slow down, and the fire on his body had also gotten thinner. Han Fu has wasted too much of his genuine chi. He might lose. The 9th prince is indeed a genius with an outstanding talent, said Liu Quanshan. After hearing the news that Zhang Yuochen made an 8-game winning streak, Liu Quanshan came to the Colosseum immediately, wondering how powerful this 9th prince would be. Standing beside Liu Quanshan, a stern-looked scribe said in a hoarse voice, "If the 9th prince can fully develop his martial arts techniques, maybe he'll be able to compete with the 7th prince." Liu Quanshan looked at the stern-looked scribe and asked, "What does your means, sir?" The stern-looked scribe said, "If the 7th prince is the only unconquerable warrior in the Yunwu Commandery, 10 years later, I'm afraid the Martial Market Bank, the Black Market, and the Federation of Inscription will all be monopolized by the official power, as there's nobody who is capable to confront the 7th prince after 10 years. But, if there is someone who can pin down the 7th prince in the royal family, the situation will be very different." Hearing this, Liu Quanshan nodded slightly as if absorbed in thought. He said, "Well, it seems that we can help him when necessary. It's the best situation if they can both be defeated and wounded. The 9th prince is still too weak compared to the strikingly talented 7th prince. We can just place a hand on him for support. But it still depends on his own potential whether he can come to maturity or not." The stern-looked scribe smiled slightly and said, "Han Fu must fall within 3 movements." Before the stern-looked scribe's voice had died away, Han Fu was struck down the Colosseum by Zhang Yuochen's one palm. Round 9, 1. Zhang Yuochen won again. Now it came to the last round. If he could win the last round, he could leave his name on the yellow board and became the 28th warrior of the yellow board in the Yunwu Commandery. Of course, Zhang Yuochen's opponent in the last round was also a warrior of the yellow board. The 9th prince is so strong. He is only 16 years old and now he is going to be a warrior of the yellow board. I heard that when the 7th prince became the warrior of the yellow board, the Commandery Prince Yunwu proclaimed a general amnesty. Let's guess, which warrior of the yellow board will break his winning streak record? The whole yellow-level Colosseum was seething again. Even the audience in the profound stage came here specially to witness the birth of a new warrior of the yellow board. The very moment of charging the yellow board was so rare that happened less than half a month. My 9th brother, you must succeed. The 9th Commandery Princess did not realize that Zhang Yuochen was so powerful that he could even defeat Han Fu. Now, she had a lot more confidence in Zhang Yuochen. Shan Xiangling's beautiful eyes blinked. She stared at Zhang Yuochen closely and thought, both being the cultivation of the final state of the Yellow Realm, he is much stronger than me. He'll probably be a warrior of the yellow board. Crap, looks like I have to handle him on my own. Liu Chengfeng walked down from the grandstand and stepped up the Colosseum. He stared at Zhang Yuochen sharply and said, "The 9th prince, you have fought 9 rounds. How much genuine chi have you left?" "More than enough to defeat you," said Zhang Yuochen. Liu Chengfeng grinned and said, "The 9th prince, you are indeed a genius. If you can practice to the completion of the Yellow Realm, I'll probably lose. But with your present cultivation, you are doomed to fail." Liu Chengfeng, ranking 11th on the yellow board, was classified as one of the strong warriors among the warriors of the yellow board.